morning. Now we are going to just recap the realms of the earth, right? We know the hydrosphere, we know the lithosphere, and we know the atmosphere. We have seen the atmosphere, the layers of the earth. And now we see the lithosphere. That is the rocky part, the rocks. Rocks are nothing but aggregates of minerals, combination of many minerals, right? Number of minerals combined together to form a rock. If the mineral is present in one large quantity, then that is known as a ore. We know the iron ore, right? Aluminium ore, silver ore, all these are ores. But rocks are not like that. It's a combination of many minerals. Okay? One mineral may be dominant. For example, iron may be dominant. Aluminium may be dominant. But it has other minerals too. So these rocks are divided into or formed by three different ways. Let's know the three different ways. On the basis of their formation, rocks are divided into three different types. One is igneous rocks, second one is sedimentary rocks, and third one is metamorphic rocks. Since they are formed differently, obviously they will be having different characteristics, right? Now, let us see the characteristics of igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are also known as primary rocks. Why primary rocks means igneous rocks are formed from volcanic eruptions. Igneous rocks are formed from volcanic eruptions. That is why they are the first rocks to be formed, and that is why they are known as the primary rocks. So when a volcano is erupted, the lava flows out. The lava flows out and this lava solidifies or gets hardened, and this forms igneous rocks. This forms rocks, and those rocks are known as igneous rocks. Some magma also will be staying inside because the pressure is not enough to come out. So some magma also stays inside. The liquid which is not coming out is known as magma, right? So this magma also gets solidifies, and this also forms a rock. So these rocks are also known as igneous rocks. The rocks which are forming inside are known as intrusive igneous rocks, whereas the rocks which are forming outside are known as extrusive igneous rocks. X means out. X means out. In means you know inside, right? In means inside and X means outside. And you know the characteristics of intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive igneous rocks differ. When it is an extrusive igneous rock, they do not have luster. They do not have luster. Luster means shine. And intrusive igneous rocks have a lot of shine because the rate of cooling is very slow in case of intrusive igneous rocks, whereas the rate of cooling is faster in case of extrusive igneous rocks. See, when you pour some hot liquid outside, tea, when you pour tea outside a teacup, what happens? Some tea, if it is inside, the tea takes long time for cooling, which is inside the teacup, and which is poured out, it will cool faster, right? So that is, which is poured out is an extrusive igneous rock, which is inside is an intrusive igneous rock. So intrusive igneous rocks have luster, whereas extrusive igneous rocks do not have luster. And moreover, intrusive igneous rocks have bigger crystals. They form crystals, both intrusive and extrusive igneous rocks. And intrusive igneous rocks form bigger crystals than extrusive igneous rocks. All of us know the building material granite. That is an example of intrusive igneous rocks, and these intrusive igneous rocks are also known as plutonic rocks. Plutonic rocks. And extrusive igneous rocks are also known as volcanic rocks. Volcanic rocks. Now let us see the characteristics of igneous rocks. Igneous rocks, because they are formed from a volcano, they are very hard and compact, and they do not contain any layers. They do not contain any layers because the volcano gives off lava just like that. They do not contain any layers like this, right? And they are not porous. They are not porous. Porous means they contain pores like this. They are not porous, and since they are not porous, they do not percolate any water. They do not percolate any water, and water is not absorbed, right? And it does not contain any remains of plants and animals. This igneous rocks contain many minerals. Take for example, igneous rocks is a source for black soil. Black soil is a very fertile soil which is containing many minerals, and of course we have many minerals like silver, magnesium, right? All these minerals are contained in igneous rocks. And since igneous rocks are primary rocks, secondary rocks, that is sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks, are derived from igneous rocks, are coming out from igneous rocks, right? They are also known as source rocks. When rocks break up into pieces and they get deposited somewhere, that is known as a sediment. That is known as a sediment. So these sediments, they get deposited one by one, and that forms a layer. So these layers, they get formed layer by layer, and through course of time, that forms a sedimentary rock. In between these sedimentary rocks, sometimes you have seeds, that is plants, dead animals, right? And these sedimentary rocks, they are not hard as igneous rocks. And because these sedimentary rocks are formed layer by layer, they have pores in between. They have pores in between, that is why they absorb water. They absorb water. Normally these sedimentary rocks are formed near water, or these will be having like waves and all, or mud cracks, right? This remains of plants and animals, what we say, these are known as fossils. These are known as fossils, and most rocks on the earth, these are sedimentary rocks only. 75% of rocks on the earth are sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are formed in three ways: mechanically formed sedimentary rocks, organically formed sedimentary rocks, and chemically formed sedimentary rocks. Example of mechanically formed sedimentary rock is a sandstone, which is used in constructions and all. And organically formed sedimentary rocks is what we all know, that is coal. And chemically formed sedimentary rock is salt. And next, coming to metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks are compressed rocks. Morphism means changing. Metamorphism means changing on a very big scale. So metamorphic rocks are either igneous rocks or sedimentary rocks which are changed under very high pressure or very high temperature. very high pressure or very high temperature. See, take an example of a sandwich. A normal sandwich, when you take a normal sandwich and a toasted sandwich. See, when you take a toasted sandwich, it becomes more harder and a normal sandwich is little softer. So that is an example of a pre-existing metamorphic rock, that is igneous or a sedimentary rock. Then after undergoing a lot of pressure or temperature, it becomes more harder. So that is an example of a metamorphic rock. And these metamorphic rocks, they are very much compressed, much compact. They do not have any pores in between, just like the sedimentary rocks, right? Because they are much compressed because of pressure and temperature, right? And because of pressure and temperature, they change their color. Just take the same example of the sandwich and the toasted bread. Do they change their color? Yes. Here also they change their color. Now let's see the uses of rocks. Rocks, because they are very hard, they are used in construction. See, sandstones or granites, any kinds of rocks, they are used in construction. Sedimentary rocks, like organically formed sedimentary rocks, they are used like petrol and coal. They are a means of power. Next is fertilizers. They are used as fertilizers. And soil. They are formed from soil. Rocks break up and they form soil. Next, very precious rocks. They are used as jewelry. Gold, silver and all, they are used as jewelry. So these are the main uses of rocks. Till now we have seen the formation of rocks, and now we are seeing the breaking up of rocks, right? So the breaking up of rocks is known as weathering, right? This breaking up of rocks is of two types. One is just breaking up of rocks and breaking their composition. See, sometimes when this chalk is put in water, it loses its original composition. So that is breaking up of composition. Or milk. Milk, when it is fermented, it turns into curd. That is turning out the composition, right? So that is decomposition. Disintegration is just breaking up into pieces. So weathering of rocks, that means breaking up of rocks, is of two different types. One is disintegration and decomposition, changing of the composition and just breaking up of rocks. Okay, this disintegration and decomposition happens, but why does it happen? It happens because of external forces. Generally it happens because of external forces like sun, that is temperature, rainfall, wind, glaciers. So all these are factors of weathering. Apart from sun, temperature, rainfall, slope of land, gentle slopes. Suppose the slope is towards the sun, then it will have more weathering. The rocks tend to break up very fast. It's opposite. Then obviously it will break up slowly. Natural vegetation more, then weathering will be slow, breakup will be slow. Natural vegetation high, natural vegetation less, breakup will be faster. Type of rocks. If it is an igneous rock, harder rock or metamorphic rock, then breakup will obviously be slow. Sedimentary rock, softer rock, it will break up very faster. Climatic conditions. Climatic conditions are harsh climatic conditions. Take for example deserts. Deserts have very harsh climatic conditions, whereas in other places, equatorial regions and all, you have normal climatic conditions, or temperate regions you have normal climatic conditions. So obviously their weathering will be less comparatively. We have three types of weathering. One is mechanical weathering, second one is chemical weathering, and third one is biological weathering. In mechanical weathering, weathering takes place because of temperature conditions. Mechanical weathering generally takes place because of temperature conditions or rainfall or whatever we have seen, external factors. In chemical weathering, decomposition takes place. Biological weathering, it takes place because of plants, animals and human beings. So mechanical weathering takes place because of two reasons. One is changes in temperature, high temperature or freezing action, right? So block disintegration is the first one. When the stone breaks up into very large pieces, then that is known as block disintegration. Blocks means very big pieces, right? So block disintegration means break up into bigger pieces. Opposite to that is granular disintegration. Granules means very small. Granules means very small pieces. So granular disintegration means break up into very small pieces. So normally this takes place in open areas like deserts and all. And next one is exfoliation. If it comes out layers by layers. If the rock comes out layers by layers, just as in case of onion or cabbage, then that is known as exfoliation. The other name for this is onion peeling only. So when you just take out, it comes out layer by layer, right? That is known as exfoliation. This also takes place in open areas. Last one is frost action. In case of frost action, what happens is, suppose in mountainous areas you have so many cracks in the rock. So whenever rainfall happens, rain comes and accumulates here. When the temperature goes down, this water increases its volume. Water when changes into ice increases its volume and breaks this crack and increases the crack. Slowly the crack increases and loosens this rock. Slowly the rock disintegrates. And next one is chemical weathering. See, chemical weathering means just like decomposition, change in the composition of the rock. So here in chemical weathering we have four different types: solution, oxidation, hydration and carbonation. And generally this chemical weathering takes place in humid regions, wet regions than dry regions, right? In the first one, solution, some rocks they dissolve in water. So that is known as solution. We know, like limestone or gypsum, they dissolve in water, so that is solution. And next one is oxidation. Some rocks they absorb atmospheric oxygen. So that is known as oxidation. Right? See, if a rock is abundant in iron, then it turns rusted. If a rock is abundant in iron, then it turns rusted. So that is known as oxidation. Next one is hydration. Just like rocks absorb water, rocks absorb oxygen, they absorb water here. And when they absorb water, they slowly disintegrate. They slowly loosen up and slowly disintegrate. And the last one is carbonation. Sometimes when you have rainfall, that rainwater absorbs the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere. So, and that forms carbonic acid. And this carbonic acid, it absorbs the rock and slowly it disintegrates the rock. So when it disintegrates the rock, you know what happens? It forms caves. It disintegrates the rock and it slowly forms caves. So that is carbonation. And the next one is biological weathering. See, in biological weathering, this happens because of plants, animals and human activities. Sometimes plants, they penetrate into the rocks and they break up the rocks. In case of sedimentary rocks, some seeds, they are in between the layers of the sediments and they come up. Or in case of old houses and all, you know, the trees, they come up and break up. So that is biological weathering. In animals, in search of food, they dig up the rock and loosen the rock. So that is done by animals. Human activities, deforestation is done, mining is done, quarrying is done. All these activities are done by humans. So that also loosens the soil. Now let's see the effect of weathering. The constructive effect of weathering is soil formation. In case of granular disintegration, it is very essential that it is forming soil. And soil is very essential for our food and all, everything. Next one is landslides and mud flows. Landslide means when in case of mountainous regions, sometimes it gets loosened. The soil over there gets loosened and comes down. That is landslide. And if that landslide is accompanied with a rainfall, and that is known as a mud flow. Both are very dangerous for people over there. Right? And our next one is soil. Next topic is soil. Soil is a very important natural resource. Without soil, we cannot do anything. We live on soil, we eat from soil. So soil is a very important natural resource. Even we get our clothes from soil, right? And soil is the top covering of the earth's surface. We know, crust, right? And moreover, soil is not very deep. It's only 2 or 3 meters deep. Now let's see how soil is being formed. Now let's see the formation of soil. Soil is formed from a parent rock material. A parent rock is broken into very small pieces. A rock is broken into very small pieces, and that is known as a source rock or a parent rock. And relief or landform also depends. See, in case of alluvial soils, it is not formed in the place where it is broken up. All the other soils, they are formed only in the place where it is broken up, where the rocks are broken up. Climatic conditions. Some soils are formed in very harsh climatic conditions, sandy soils. Other soils are formed in normal climatic conditions. So climatic conditions also influence the formation of soil. Plant and animal activities, humus. In case of alluvial soil, plant and animal activities also, they influence the formation of soil. Time. If it is taking a lot of time for formation of soil, the fertility of soil increases. The vertical section of soil from surface to the parent rock, it is known as soil profile. The horizontal layers are divided into 4, which are known as soil horizons. So these soil horizons are A, B, C and D. So A, B, C and D. In A we find the topsoil where it is very fertile. It is made of dry leaves and sometimes excreta of animals, and this is here erosion is very common. In horizon A, erosion and leaching also is very common. And B, horizon B, it contains subsoil and rock fragments also are present here, along with more mineral matter, sand, silt and clay. But humus is not present here because humus is very light. Humus comes up to the topsoil, but humus is not present in subsoil, right? And see, mostly rock fragments, small rocks are present in horizon C. So here no humus, much mineral content also is not present. As coming down, you have rock fragments, and horizon D, the parent rock, the original rock is present from where you have the soil, from where the soil is being formed. When the topsoil loses its first layer, then it is known as soil erosion. See, the soil erosion takes place because of two factors. One is physical factors, that is the natural factors. Sometimes you have very heavy rainfall, that is floods and all. And sometimes because of too much of wind. So these are natural factors or physical factors. And sometimes even cultural factors, what we say man-made factors, deforestation and all. Because of deforestation or mining, quarrying, all these are cultural factors. So because of these factors also, soil erosion takes place. See, whenever we deforest, the roots they lose, so that the water is not held by the trees. So the top layer is washed off. Even overgrazing of animals. When animals overgraze, what they do, they pull out the grass and all, or they pull out their fodder very hardly, so it loosens their the soil over there. So these are cultural factors. When all the soil is eroded, we cannot get the crops and all. So it is very necessary for us to conserve the soil, save the soil. So how do we save the soil? These are some ways of saving soil. Crop rotation. That means if we are putting the same crop year after year, then the soil loses its fertility. If we change the crop, then the soil regains its fertility. Leguminous crops. So when we put a leguminous crop, then the soil regains its fertility. Contour farming. See, in mountainous regions, this is how we do farming. This is known as contour farming. Even terrace farming also, in steps, in form of steps. Step farming, terrace gardening. All these are some ways how we conserve the soil. And not only these, afforestation, reverse of deforestation, stopping overgrazing. So these are also ways of soil conservation. And hope the lesson is understood. Thank you.